Hey folks, today we are going to do some of the CPCTC stuff. I'm getting really good at saying that. By matching up some sides, but also we're going to add in algebra, which is super exciting. So I want to go through the first slide of the Desmos with you so that you know exactly what you're supposed to be doing, and then you can work on the subsequent slides. Okay, so we see here in our diagram, we're given two triangles, and they tell us they're congruent, right? That's what this little sign right here means. It means they're congruent. And so the first thing I want to do when I do a problem like this is match up all my sides. I like to color code them because honestly, once I start looking at algebra, I don't want to have to be thinking about which side goes with which and which angle goes with which. So the first thing I do in all these congruency problems is I figure out which side goes with which. Okay, so let's look at these names here. XP, so side XP, that blue side right there, has to match side DN. So I'm just going to come over here and color code them, right? Remember, we know that because XP are the first two letters and then D and N are the first two letters. So I'm going to change colors. That means, let me look here, P and S. So this side has to match NF. So I'm going to mark that side. And then that only leaves me with one side, so I'll pair them up. Okay, now I'm marking sides because all the information that they gave me in this particular problem is sides. We can also mark angles though, right? So we know that angle X goes with angle D. We know that angle P goes with angle N. And I hope I have another color. I'm out of colors. I'll use orange again, I guess. And we know that angle S goes with angle F. And again, if you're having trouble with this, maybe go back and watch the original video on CPCTC. All we're doing is using the names to line up the parts, right? If I were to take these two and lay them on top of each other, I would have to flip this over and also turn it. But the orange side should lay on this orange side, this blue side should lay on this blue side, and this green side should lay on this green side. All right, so now that I have all my pairs, my sides and my angles matched up, we have all 6 congruencies marked. It should be pretty easy to answer the questions. All right, so it says, which two corresponding sides can you use to figure out what X is? Okay, so the first thing I'm gonna do is come over here and find the stinking X, right? In the problem, my X is right here. Okay, so obviously this side, XS, has to come in to the picture because that's the side where X is. So I'm trying to figure out what X is. I've got to use the side that has an expression with X. Okay, now, what other side could I use? Well, let's figure out which one is the same as. Remember, math, equal, congruent, same. Those are all kind of synonyms, I believe they're called in English class. So I marked that side green. So let's go over to our other triangle, find the green side. Whoop, 54. So I can use side FD. So I should be able to use side XS and side FD to do this, right? Because they are both green sides. Both of the green sides as I marked it, right? So I know they're equal. So here's the next question. It says, use these two sides, which we know must be equal, right? The name, the congruency statement told me they're equal. So I know I can take my two green sides and be sure they are equal, and it wants us to write an equation. Well, look, the equation's sitting here waiting for us. I need this side, this green side, to equal this green side. So I'm going to use my equation editor because you know I love it. I need this first green side, 17x plus 3, to equal my other green side, 54. Right, there's my equation, right? We could say those two green sides are the same. We could say those two green sides are congruent. We could say those two green sides are equal. This is just a very mathy way to say it. And we like the mathy way to say it because now we're going to be able to solve for X. So the next problem says solve your equation. Okay, well, don't mind if I do. I'm going to start with 17x plus 3 equals 54, and let's do some DCMCS, shall we? I'm going to subtract 3 from both sides. Right? I have a plus 3 right here. I want to subtract it from both sides and get rid of it. When I do that, the 3 on this side will disappear. Plus 3 minus 3. Over here, I'm going to have 54 minus 3, which leaves me with 51. Okay. This is only a little baby two-step equation because now look what I'm left with. A term with an x on it and a number. So all I have to do now is divide, and I'm always going to divide by the number that's in front of the x, or the coefficient on x. So I'm going to divide by 17. I don't know what 17, 51. Is it 3? You think it's 3? X equals 51 divided by 17. I'm going to use that. I think I just violated the cell phone policy. 51 divided by 17. It is 3. Go me with my mental math. Okay, I found out that x is 3. Okay, now, one last question. It says use the x value you found to find the length of side xs. Okay, so xs was 17x minus 3. So xs is equal to 17x, or was it plus 3? Plus 3, sorry, misspoke. Okay, so I know now you're telling me that x is equal to 3, at least that's what we figured out. So xs is going to be 17 times 3 plus 3. Okay, whoops. So xs has to equal, and we'll just do the math here. 17 times 3 is 51, plus 3 more is 54. Okay, so we found out that we think xs is 54. Now this next part of the question is the one where sometimes people get confused and don't know how to answer this. Well, look, it says, is your x value correct? Explain how you know. So one of the things I say about geometry is, and even solving equations, you can always tell if your answer's right. Right? You don't have to say, Ms. Britton, is this right? You know if it's right. Okay? I know from the very start how long that side should have been. Right? All the way up here, we said, hey, both of my green sides have to be the same. Okay? So this green side was 54. Guess what? If you do your DCMCS and you come up with an x value, if we had gotten anything other than 54 for this side, we'd be in trouble. Because they told us from the start that side XS has to match side DF. Right? We knew that from the start. We could tell that from the congruency sides. So before we did any equations, before we did anything, we could have said, well, listen, I don't know what X is, but I know this has to be 54. It has to be 54 because these two sides have to match. Okay, so there are a few more slides in the Desmos. Again, this is the very first one. You can still complete it now that you watched me do it. The next one is this same diagram, but you're finding y value instead. Okay? So you're going to see when you go through the slides, it might look like you're getting the same problem more than once. It's the same diagram, but the questions are different. In one slide it's asking for x, and then the next slide it might be asking for y. And there's one where there's an x, a y, and a z. So you get the same diagram 3 slides in a row. I didn't mess up. You're supposed to have the same diagram 3 times in a row. Okay, have a wonderful day, and I will see you soon.